All right. Well, I think everyone knows by now Bill Clinton did not show up. And I think it's important to note that this subpoena was voted on in a bipartisan manner by this committee. Well, here we are again. I don't think it's any secret. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton joined her husband in defying a bipartisan lawful congressional subpoena to show up today. I think what's most disappointing to the Oversight Committee is the fact that we have, in good faith, negotiated with the Clintons' attorneys for 5 months. Throughout the past 5 months, they've implied to us they were trying to make a date work. In fact, the last date we had, they notified us 3 days beforehand, said that they would love to come, but they have a funeral to attend. And we have bent over backwards to try to schedule the Clinton. No, I'm still talking. I'm still talking. Go ahead. Hey, get him out of here. You're not even a reporter. Get out of here. So here's the.
All right, y'all, let's really talk. Because if we're going to talk about this Clinton and Epstein situation, we can't skip over the parts people already know. Allegedly, Bill Clinton was photographed with Jeffrey Epstein. I don't think that's a rumor. I don't think these pictures is Photoshop. I think these is real pictures. And when we start to pretend that they not, that's how the conversation kind of get messy. Now, here's why I kind of want y'all to slow down and stay grounded. A photo tells you someone was in the same space. It don't tell you what the conversations was about. It don't tell you what behaviors took place. And it don't tell you that a crime occurred. And that distinction do matter. Because Epstein moved around a lot of powerful spaces, politics, money, philanthropy, international circles. Like, I'm more interested in the Lex Wexner subpoena than I am this Bill Clinton one. And I'll bring y'all the details about that a little later. We'll get into that later. But being photographed with Epstein, especially years ago, before the full scope of his crime was public, does not automatically translate into complicity. Yes, Bill Clinton's name has appeared in Epstein related reporting, including past travel connections that Clinton has acknowledged himself. And Clinton has consistently said he had no knowledge of Epstein's crimes, no involvement in them, and no contact with Epstein for years before Epstein's arrest. That's been his position. And more importantly, there's been no evidence produced that contradicts it. So, do y'all think Jeffrey Epstein was just like setting Clinton up, putting him in situations and taking pictures where it was questionable, but Clinton wasn't actually doing nothing? Could that be possible, y'all? But when people point to the photos and say, see, sometimes I do have to say, see what exactly? Because if we being honest, a lot of people was photographed with Epstein who never faced charges. And a lot of people who should have been questioned harder never was. Photos don't replace investigations, and headlines don't replace evidence. Now, circling back to the hearing, Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton didn't attend.
But for whatever reason, President Clinton didn't show up, and the Democrats on the committee don't seem to have a problem.
Here's why. Here's a statement they released explaining why they didn't make it. Homer, we want to take a moment, given everything, to address you directly. This past year has seen our government engage in unprecedented actions, including against our own citizens. People have been seized by masked federal agents from their home, their workplaces, and the streets of their communities. Students and scientists with visas permitting them to study and work here have been deported without due process. The people who laid siege to the U.S. Capitol have been pardoned and called heroes. Agencies vital to the country's national security have been dismantled. Universities, media companies, and law firms have been subjected to threats to their funding, access, and licensing unless they made concessions and surrendered their right to constitutionally protect free speech. American troops have been deployed on the streets of our towns and cities. The Justice Department has been used as a weapon at the direction of the president to pursue political opponents. And most recently and searingly, an ICE agent killed an unarmed mother only days ago. Every person has to decide when they have seen or had enough and are ready to fight for this country, its principles, and its people, no matter the consequences. For us, now is that time. We are lucky by virtue of the positions we held and the protections afforded by them, but we are not blind. Every day we see the country we have dedicated our lives to improve and take step after step after step backwards. As chairman of this powerful congressional committee, you have immense power to target anyone and subject them to closed door interrogation and more. The decisions you have made and the priorities you have set as chairman regarding the Epstein investigation have prevented progress in discovering the facts about the government's role. The facts speak for themselves. You subpoenaed 8 people in addition to us. You dismissed 7 of those 8 without any of them saying a single word to you. You made no attempt to force them to appear. In fact, since you started your investigation last year, you have interviewed a total of 2 people. 2. A legal analysis prepared by 2 law firms and provided to you yesterday makes clear your subpoenas are legally invalid. You claim your subpoenas are inviolate when they are used against us, yet were silent when the sitting president took the same position. As a former president, barely more than 3 years ago, we call on you to release that analysis to the public to allow them to see how this is yet another example of the casual disregard of the law of the land. All the while, you have done nothing with your oversight capacity to force the Department of Justice to follow the law and release all its Epstein files, including any material regarding us as we have publicly called for. Over the last year in the House, extending health care for Americans in any state succeeded only because enough Republicans joined with Democrats. The fact that the public and we are seeing any of the Department of Justice Epstein files is only because 4 Republicans out of 220 joined every Democrat to reach the minimum number of members to force a vote. You were not one of those 4. Even now, despite the Department of Justice's failure to follow the law that Congress passed, you have chosen not to consider subpoenaing the sitting Attorney General to follow the law. Despite everything that needs to be done to help our country, you are on the cusp of bringing Congress to a halt to pursue a rarely used process literally designed to result in our imprisonment. This is not the way out of America's ills, and we will forcefully defend ourselves. Indeed, bringing the Republicans' cruel agenda to a standstill while you work harder to pass the contempt charge against us than you have done on your investigation this past year would be our contribution to fighting the madness. We have tried to give you the little information we have. We've done so because Mr. Epstein's crimes were horrific. If the government didn't do all it could to investigate and prosecute these crimes for whatever reason, that should be the focus of your work, to learn why and to prevent that from happening ever again. There is no evidence that you are doing so. Instead, you have forced the victims to relive their painful experiences while doing little to give them and everybody else what's deserved, truth, and justice. There is no plausible explanation for what you are doing other than partisan politics. You accepted the least from those who know the most, but demand the most from those who know the least. To say you can't complete your work without speaking to us is simply bizarre. You have asked what we know. To answer your inquiry, we are providing you with the same or more than 7 of the other 8 individuals you subpoenaed regarding the handling of the Epstein investigation and prosecutions, which may be why you have not publicly released their written statements. We expect you will say it is not enough. We expect you'll reject it. You may even set out an empty chair or stand in front of the cameras and outright dismiss what we have provided. We expect you will direct your committee to seek to hold us in contempt. You may even release irrelevant, decade old photo that you hope will embarrass us. You will say your caucus and the speaker and the president are behind you 100%. We hope, perhaps in vain, that they will not allow you to single handedly hijack the Congress by unilaterally making this decision for your colleagues, your party, and our country. You will say it is not our decision to make, but we have made it. Now you have to make yours. We are prepared to make our case to your 45 committee members, and if need be, more. Importantly, we also will defend ourselves in the public arena and ensure this country knows exactly what you are doing and why you are doing so, instead of helping the American people who need this Congress work and protection. For most people, maybe even the bulk of the Congress, today will be the first they will learn of this dispute. We are confident that any reasonable person in or out of Congress will see, based on everything we release, that what we are doing is trying to punish those who you see as your enemies. For most people, maybe even the bulk of Congress, today will be the first they learned of this dispute. We are confident that any reasonable person in or out of Congress will see, based on everything we release, that what you are doing is trying to punish those who you see as your enemies and to protect those you think are your friends. Continue to mislead Americans about what is truly at stake, and you will learn that Americans are better at finding the truth than you are at burying it. Continue to pursue auto pens instead of penning laws Americans need, and you will learn that you are signing away any remaining chance of being on the right side of history. Continue to abet the dismantling of America, and you will learn that it takes more than a wrecking ball to demolish what Americans have built over 250 years. Sincerely, Bill Clinton, Hillary Rodham Clinton. So essentially, the Clintons is saying, you've subpoenaed more people than us. You've let them off, but you still fucking with us. We are ready to have this fight publicly if that's what you want to do. That's what I got from the letter. Y'all let me know what y'all interpretation was. So now that the Clintons have decided to skip the hearing, what does that mean for them? Well, here's what James Comer had to say. Check this out, y'all.
Here's the situation. We're going to hold both Clintons in criminal contempt of Congress. We believe that because this subpoena was issued in a bipartisan fashion, the Democrats acted the day that the subpoenas were voted on in the subcommittee like they wanted the Clintons to come, because they at that time, if you go back, they were wanting me to subpoena the estate, which I did. We subpoenaed the estate and got all the documents, everything. That was what the victims asked. That's what the Democrats asked. I think that's what the American people wanted.
So it seemed like the people is trying to connect the dots that haven't actually been connected by facts. There's been no charges, no testimony tying them to wrongdoing, no formal accusations, just absence and a whole lot of interpretations layered on top of it. And I get why people feel uneasy. Epstein represents a massive failure of accountability. So anytime his name pops up, trust is always thin. But discomfort alone isn't proof. So for me, I'm doing my best to stay with the facts and not the optics. And as new information come out, I'm not opposed to changing my opinion on things. And as I get the new information, I bring it to y'all. See y'all in the next one.